Good morning, and welcome to Petrie's Get It Microsoft 365 Collaboration and Productivity Accelerator for IT Pros one-day virtual conference. I will be the moderator for the first session. My name is Michael Reinders. I have been an IT pro for over 20 years and an industry expert around Office 365 administration. My session topics include understanding internal and external sharing, Microsoft 365 groups, Microsoft Loop components, and real-time co-authoring in Microsoft Office apps. So what does that mean? Well, essentially, Microsoft 365 includes powerful collaboration features that allow teams to work on and share documents more easily than ever before. But do you understand how that works? How all the features work and how to manage them and how to secure them. So in this session, I'll be taking you through the basics of sharing and collaboration in Microsoft 365 and how you can control who can share what and with whom in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. I'll also be showing some demos of using Office and OneDrive for Business to facilitate co-authoring of documents, Word and Excel, as examples, and also show you a brief demo of the new Microsoft Loop components as part of Microsoft Teams. So, let's get started. So, let's talk about using Microsoft 365 to share files. And the best way to demonstrate that is to talk about how we've traditionally shared files and how I'm sure many of us do, and compare that to what the benefits are of using Microsoft 365 to share files, including uploading files to OneDrive for Business or SharePoint or Teams and then sharing centrally from there. So I have a demonstration of an email here that goes coming from a team member, and there's a fictional legacy server decommission list. There's a project that these team members need to decommission some old servers. So she made up a spreadsheet, Lynn, and she is emailing this, attaching this file as an attachment directly to these team members. And as you can see, she's sending this spreadsheet and asking people to reply with the specs of the servers, if they can be truly decommissioned, and if so, when, like dates. So each of these team members are getting a static Excel file with this information. So you can assume and anticipate that people will reply and they'll submit their information and the servers that they're responsible for, and you can see it turning into a pretty feisty mess pretty quickly. There's possible overlap of data. Two team members could possibly be responsible for the same server, and they might be replying to all with conflicting information. So as the team manager, the owner of this project, how in the world are you supposed to make heads or tails out of the actual action items that you need to do? How do you know that all the information is accurate and precise? So again, this is the old way, not the most efficient and productive way. All right, so now we're moving into the future, and funny enough, as I was thinking about how to broach this topic, I didn't even realize how quick and straightforward it can be to completely transform how this information, how this file is being communicated to these team members of Lynn's, and how to make it much more efficient, much easier to use, much easier to have, one central place to store information. Even at my past day job that I have as an IT pro, a systems engineer, and the current one I'm at, the same thing happens. People sending, especially Excel spreadsheets as attachments, and looking for feedback on, like, let's say it's email domains, or if you want to find out a company that has many email domains for whatever reason, and should we decommission these? So there's a whole bunch of different aspects, bunch of different team members department heads, VPs, and different aspects of the business that need to engage certain individuals to find out if said email domain is still needed, if it's still used for business purposes, that kind of thing. And I just kind of cringe when I see that, only because I know how ugly it can get very quickly in terms of muddying the waters, in terms of having the more people, of course, the muddier it can get in terms of understanding the information, who's looking for information, how do we share it amongst people efficiently, and how do we keep everything straight. So the interesting thing, even how simple Microsoft makes it, is it's an even quicker thing to just even show you on this same email. I've rewritten the words a little bit. So here I will say, here's Lynn speaking to her team. Here's a link to our central, and some of these things are a little pedantic, but they get the point across. Here's a link to our central spreadsheet for our legacy server decommission project. Please feel free to update the contents with server specs, decommission yes or no responses, and expected final decommission dates. Let's go ahead and click on this and fix my spelling. There you go. And then she also reminds everyone you can access this from the Outlook desktop app, Outlook on the web, Microsoft Teams, if this happens to be part of a team, your mobile Office apps. You can use the Office or Teams mobile app on your iPhone or Android, and even update the Excel spreadsheet. Obviously not as efficient maybe or easy to manipulate data on a mobile device, but it's still something you can get done in a pinch. And then she says, feel free to ask any questions. So let me actually show you on this same email that she still hasn't sent, and thankfully she's going to be sending the much more preferred way. So with the attachment here, I'm going to click the drop down next to, and first I'm going to upload to OneDrive. So that's going to upload the file to her OneDrive for Business. And as you can see now, it says anyone can edit. So by default, and this is a Microsoft 365 developer sandbox that if you read my accompanying blog post, you'll see how you can create a free private sandbox of a Microsoft 365 E5 licensed tenant. Which includes 16 users. Here are some of the pre-filled users that they create, and allows you to essentially develop applications. But it's a good demo environment for what I'm trying to demonstrate here. And I'll be going over the defaults here of what people see when they do share files later on in the session. But if I click the drop down here, if I go to Manage Access, right now it says anyone can edit, and that is the default, which is all right. It's not the most secure way, but that means anyone in my organization can edit. So essentially, if anyone else, if any one of these team members forwards this link to anyone else in the organization in this specific Office 365 tenant, they will also be able to view the data and actually change the data. So it depends on your organization and your culture and security and compliance, if that is something that's expected, and that can even be locked down if you wish. So you can make the default, anyone in my organization can view. But this one here is tuned to these recipients. So I'm going to say recipients can edit, and as you can see, it's updated. So now it says recipients can edit. That just means this file is given explicit permissions only to these 4, 5, 8 users. So even if these people forward this link, a file to someone else, they will not automatically gain access. There'll be a little red X that'll appear on the email from Outlook saying not all recipients can access this file. Do you want to correct it? That sort of thing. So I will go ahead and click send, and that is now on its way. Okay, so you've just seen a demonstration of how a user can share a file, an Excel file, via her OneDrive account with other team members in her organization. So let's switch gears and go over the administration of the sharing aspect. So I will again reiterate that I created a Microsoft 365 developer sandbox, which is a Office 365 tenant with 16 users plus the administrator you use to create it. It is a free offering that's valid for 90 days. And it comes with, again, 16 users, pre-filled information, some emails and some calendar appointments. There are some teams that are created in Microsoft Teams, and it's a wonderful developer sandbox for creating applications and testing applications with the various Microsoft 365 features available to you. So again, with administration, it all starts in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. So I am logged into my sandbox environment as the administrator. It's MD Reinders. So to check the settings, we're going to first go to the settings menu along the left and click on Org Settings. And we're going to scroll down to SharePoint. Now again, this is focused on solely on SharePoint and SharePoint site collections that you create in your organization. We'll get a little more broad to the more user-based in OneDrive in a moment. But here this basically goes from the top down, the most restrictive to the most permissive, meaning the top one, only people in your organization, no external sharing allowed. That means files can only be shared with users in your Office 365 tenant or other tenants that you might have federated with. So again, from a security standpoint, this is rather secure. No guests, not even new guests, not even existing guests that you have in your tenant and your Azure Active Directory can be explicitly shared with. The next one down is existing guests only. So this would include only guests that you already have in your directory, in your Azure Active Directory. So users would not be able to, on the fly, share a file with an external guest. That would be blocked. The one I'm most familiar with, and the one that probably is the best compromise, is new and existing guests. So in this aspect, again, a guest is someone that must sign in or provide a verification code. So they either have to be an existing guest in your Azure Active Directory, or users can submit it to an email address for an external user, and they either have to authenticate with their own Office 365 account or a personal Microsoft account. And I guess a recent feature is that they can also use a verification code. So the default, which I'm going to change here momentarily, is anyone. This is obviously, again, this is the most permissive. This allows the most sharing scope, but it allows you to send a file to anyone. You can send it to a Gmail account, any email address, and that recipient does not need to authenticate at all to access the file. So obviously, from a convenience standpoint and ease of use and low impact to your users, that's ideal. But for security and compliance and for obvious reasons, it's not recommended. So I'm going to click on New and Existing Guests and click Save. Change is saved. All right. So the other aspect we can go to work on this is in the SharePoint Admin Center. And you can see there's a SharePoint link down here. I have the SharePoint Admin Center open already. And under Policies, if you expand Policies and you click Sharing, you'll see all the options. So we'll go through these. And again, before I clicked on that setting to save it, these two bars were right at the top on most permissive, set to anyone. So because I changed that to new and existing guests, it did update right here. So again, this demonstrates so you can change the permissions in SharePoint site collections or files uploaded to SharePoint document libraries and separate that from people's private OneDrive accounts. So again, I'll go through briefly a couple of these other settings. When you do share with external users, guests, you can limit which domains you want to share with. So you could choose primary and crucial business partners. You could include gmail.com if you wished. If you want to make things more restrictive, not so wide open. You can select with groups if you want to allow only certain people in your organization to share files. You can put those people in a security group and then just grant only those groups, that group or groups, to be able to share externally. The guests must sign in. So again, when you can use a passcode, a verification code for a guest if they don't have their own email address, but you can force guests to use an account that uses the same address, same email address that a user shared the file with, to again make things more secure. Allow guests to share items they don't own. That also would let the guest externally share items with other guests, and again, that's checked for convenience, but of course that can be turned off. And you can also set expiration dates for guests that access a site or a OneDrive, and you have it automatically expire after X number of days. The default is 60. And if you have a verification code that guests use instead of an actual email address to authenticate against, you can make sure that they get a new code every X amount of days. Again, the default is 30. And again, this is only ad hoc external recipients, not guests that are registered in your Azure Active Directory. So if you remember seeing the file I shared when Lynn shared that Excel file, it went to anyone in the organization can edit. So this is where you can choose the default that people will see, that users will see when they share files. So again, now that we've made that more restrictive up here, and anyone is now not available, this is why anyone with the link is now not even an option, and your users will also not see that option. So now their default is going to be either people in the organization. So when you share a file, it's just everyone in the organization can edit, even if you're only sharing it with, say, 3 people. This would just allow one of those 3 recipients to share it with other users, and they would have automatic, essentially, access because of how the file is shared here. If you want to make the default specific people, that would actually correlate with how Lynn actually shared that file. She said only the recipients of this link can, only recipients of this email can view and edit this file. So you can make that default. Which, you know, again, security-wise, it does make sense because by the default, in case the user is not carefully watching it, or if they're just casually sharing a file and not reading all the information there explicitly, it's more restrictive, it's more secure, because they'll have to manually choose the option to allow anyone in the org can edit. That's actually the setting that I like the most when I share is specific people. Just so I can be cognizant and I have to actually think, well, do I want to make this available in case anyone else in the org would want to access the information? And then as a user, as an end user, when you share a file, you have that option. And you can also choose the permission by default. You can have it view only or edit. So when someone shares a file, let's say it's a Word document, and they want to just share the file, and this is basically just what you want the default to be. So if you want to make it more secure, you would change it to view. But that means, again, if the user does not carefully look at that, or if they're just casually sharing a file, that recipient will only be able to view or have read-only access. They'd have to explicitly choose edit. So that's up to you. That's, again, up to you as an IT pro, again, the culture of your organization, what makes more sense, you know, what's that compromise between, you know, end user security, end user experience, and end user impact to keeping things secure. So it's up to you. A couple other settings here that aren't relatively used very often, so we'll skip past that. So I'm going to actually save these changes because I want the default to be specific people, and I actually want the permission by default to be view only. Alright, welcome back. So I just demonstrated to you how we can send files centrally to recipients to keep a single place of information instead of spreading an attachment to multiple people. So I'm going to now demonstrate to you how to share that file, and then I can actually show you a demonstration of the real-time co-authoring. So as Lynn, I created this Excel spreadsheet online. This is in her OneDrive folder. Just a simple spreadsheet, server name, make and model, the specs of these servers, if they need to be decommissioned, and the decommission dates that these various engineers or team leads are going to determine. So the beauty, of course, Microsoft 365 of how everything is available everywhere. It is available by simply I'm going to click a new message, a new email, and I'm just going to pick again, the various users that'll be part of this project. And let's see, Lee, I'll add myself, why not? And Patty. Click save. Alright, so this is the legacy server decommission project. And then I just have some text here. So again, here's just like before, here's a link to our spreadsheet. So what I can do is click the attachment, and because this is a recent document and the AI and machine learning behind the scenes, knowing that the subject is legacy server, here happens to be an Excel file that she just recently worked with, so I'm going to click on that file. Now, if you recall from before about the default permissions, as you can see, recipients can view, because I changed that default option in the SharePoint Admin Center for permissions to the default being, instead of being able to edit, just be able to view. But obviously, in this instance, I want the users to be able to make changes. So I'm going to go to click on the drop down, click Manage Access, and then I'm going to say recipients can edit. So now the recipients will be able to make changes to that file. So let me go ahead and click Send. And I'm going ahead and go open to the file. And as you can see, again, this is Lynn. She has her file open. So I'm going to go to another screen here where I have my Michael Reinder's inbox in this tenant, and I have the email from Lynn. I'm going to click on the file, and that's going to open in Excel Online. So default, it's going to open again in view mode, only because I just clicked on the file that's showing a demonstration of it in Outlook on the web. But there are options here. I'm going to choose Edit in Browser, so that's actually going to open up the file for editing. And if you're observant here, you can see there's Michael, and now you can see that I have this file now open, and I'm on cell J7, so I am real-time viewing the same information. So again, it's one place of information. It's not two different pieces with, obviously potential data loss and inefficiency of the project. So as me, I'm going to go ahead and choose a new file. So now as I'm doing this on another screen, another tab here as Michael Reinder's, you'll see that as I type these pieces of information in, as soon as I update a cell, you'll see that it actually updates in real time. So as people are making changes, they will pop right up right in front of your eyes. And let me just and actually an interesting feature that just came up, discover new changes. Yes, so Microsoft added this a few months ago, where you'll be able to, in Excel Online, and this has been in the Excel desktop application for a very long time, but this is where you can actually click and see where other users have made changes. So it's kind of an accountability or an audit trail that you can see if you find a piece of information in whatever file you've shared, an Excel file, a Word document, PowerPoint deck, you can see what user made what change. So it's really easy. It's just kind of again, an accountability thing, or just an audit trail to find out who made this change of information. So that is available on the review menu and show changes. And again, that's a pretty recent addition. So let me finish putting in this information. This is going to be decommissioned on the same date. There's 2 file servers. Alright, so this basically shows how you can obviously efficiently and being productive in managing files together. Another instance of how this is helpful in my personal past was when patching Windows servers. We had a large spreadsheet of all the server names, all the servers we had to manually patch, go to Windows Update and patch every month. So instead of essentially in a room and just yelling to each person saying, okay, I'm gonna patch the Exchange servers, or I'm gonna patch file 01, we just had a spreadsheet very similar to this, and basically during the day people could put their initials or their name next to a server, just meaning, okay, I'm going to take ownership of this server, I'm going to patch it. And basically as soon as the server is patched and as soon as the server is rebooted, we'd update the spreadsheet and you'd have all that information. So it's easier to not have to be yelling at people, and that of course was when we were all in place with many people remote now. Obviously it's ideal to be able to centrally manage pieces of information like that, especially status of a task or a project. So hopefully that gives you a very good impression of the power, and again, this is just the tip of the iceberg in what you can do, but this obviously, I'm sure, gives you an idea of ways this can obviously help in your organization and help on your team. Hope you enjoyed the real-time co-authoring demonstration. I'm sure you can be wowed by the power that's involved in being able to co-author with your colleagues in real time to keep a central place to store your information. So we're going to switch over to another very impactful feature of Microsoft 365 collaboration, and those are groups. And let me start by the brief history. In the beginning, this goes way many decades ago, to what's called a distribution list, which I'm sure you're very well acquainted with. Basically, a distribution list is a list of members, and when you send an email to that distribution list, all the recipients of that list get the email, and that's pretty much it. That's the entire feature set of a distribution list. And back in the day, that was good. That was it. It met the needs of what you needed to do as an IT pro in terms of managing those lists and users being able to send emails, obviously, to specific groups of people. But quite a few years ago, Microsoft created what at then were called Office 365 groups. They've been since renamed as Microsoft 365 groups. And this is basically a massive evolution of the idea, because a Microsoft 365 group includes a shared inbox, a group calendar, a OneNote notebook, and even a SharePoint team site that you can use to house a SharePoint site, document libraries, things like that. And the beauty of it is it's by default it's private, so only the members of that group have access to it. And the agility of it is nice because when you want to add someone as a member, it's a very simple process, and that user member automatically gets the permissions to access all these different aspects: the shared inbox, the calendar, the SharePoint site. It's all automatic. So let's go through how to create a Microsoft 365 group, and we are again using Lynn here. So in Outlook on the web, in your message list, at the bottom you're going to see a category called groups, and again, this is something that can be disabled at the tenant level. So if you do not see this as a user, you can get in touch with your administrator group or IT group, and if you are an IT pro, want to definitely make sure that the groups are enabled in your tenant if you're looking to utilize them. But let me go ahead and click on New Group, and I will, let's call the group, let's say we want to create a group for this actual project. So Legacy Server decommission project team. Alright, so just put in the name, and then the email address will automatically be filled in for you, but you can change it if you want, but it'll automatically check and make sure that that name is available in your organization. And we'll just give it an optional description. This group will handle the decommission process of legacy servers. Okay, and then the options you can choose are private or public. Basically, 9 times out of 10, you're going to want to have it be a private group. Public groups are simply where anyone in your organization can browse for the group and join it. So yes, there are instances where that would work, but like I said, 9 times out of 10, you're going to want to keep these locked down per se, so that just the members of the group that you want to be in it will have access to it. You can choose what language you want in the group. Another main checkbox that you can do verify when you create the group is if you want your members to receive emails that get sent to the group to also appear in their private inboxes. So by default this is checked. So if someone sends a email to the group, recipients will also get an email notification in their main private inbox. So it's kind of an awareness thing. If you want to turn that off, which I usually do, they'll just simply see a notification in that group. So let's go ahead and create this. And now here we can add a member. So as Lynn, I'm going to add, I'm not sure if I have all these names right here, but again, this is something I'm just doing now. This can obviously be done at any time, even after the group is created. But I will add, let me just type in Michael, add myself, and then click add. Alright. And we can click on this, so we can see now that we have this group available to us, the legacy server decommission project team group. Okay, let me briefly describe to you and demonstrate the features that come with the Microsoft 365 groups. So let's go ahead and click send email. And this is just going to be a quick email to the group. Please utilize the new group as you see fit. Please let me know if you have any questions. Gotta love that autofill. Thank you, Microsoft. And click send. So that will get sent, and there's the email. And again, this is just something an email that you can use. You can reply. Other people can reply to it, but it is a private, essentially a private inbox. So let me click on up here. Go to Group Files. So this is going to open up the SharePoint site and allow us to, upload files, upload folders, create new Word documents, Excel documents, PowerPoint, even OneNote notebooks. Let me click on go to Group Calendar, and this will open the private calendar for this that only the members of this group will have. So we'll say Legacy Server Kickoff Meeting. And we're going to choose next week, Tuesday, as I record this. But as I record this, let's just say March 24th. And let's say 1 p.m. 1 to 2. Invite some attendees. And just a few more here. It'll be the lead people that are going to be on this meeting. And we say have them remind an hour before, and send. Again, this meeting isn't on my primary calendar. This is just in that private group. So that allows you to, and let me go ahead and go to March, and there's our private group meeting. Let me go back to the inbox, and I can click back to group email. So it's really simple to use this little feature here to get back to the other places you want, the different features of the group. Let me click on Notebook, and this will open up the OneNote notebook that comes with the group. And this is all part of that same project. So again, you can add a section. Oops, pardon me. say this is for budgeting. Again, you have limitless possibilities. You can use whatever OneNote features that you want there. Let me go back to the inbox, and again, I can click on site. This will actually take you to the SharePoint team site, just privately for this group. And this includes all the next steps on how you can enhance the site, give it a theme, invite more people to it, upload files. All the features of SharePoint modern team sites are available to you. Alright, I would have enjoyed my session so far. Let's round out by discussing a new feature being released to Microsoft Teams. Microsoft started rolling this out to Microsoft Teams at the end of November of 2021, something called Loop Components. There are two more Loop solutions that Microsoft is working on, Loop Pages and Loop Workspaces. We'll have to wait and see what those are. But Loop Components is rolling out and is generally available in Teams, the desktop and mobile. So this feature, just as of note, is not available yet on Teams on the web page. So let's go through and show you what Loop Components are. I'm going to go to the chat module. And again, I am logged into my Microsoft 365 sandbox as Lynn Robbins. And I am in a chat session with, or Lynn is in a chat session with me, Michael Reinders. So at the bottom of the list where you can type information, there's various little mini toolbars you can use. The interesting, when you hover over it, it says Loop Components. It kind of looks like a loop, a circle, but when you click it, it shows up the currently supported list of kind of items that you can add right into your chat. And the beauty of this is that it's it's very similar to what we talked about in terms of real-time collaboration, where we were having multiple people collaborate simultaneously on an Excel spreadsheet. This gives you a nice collaborative feature right into your Teams chat that you can have, and this can be a chat with a single person, and this can be a group chat with multiple people. But you're able to, instead of having to draw this out into a meeting, you can just try to hash these things out right in the chat just to save some time. So you can choose a bulleted list, checklist, a numbered list, just a block of text if you want to, like maybe the opening of a project or opening of a PowerPoint deck that you want to work on. You want to just flush it out here quickly with a couple other group members and see how to proceed. So let's just go to a checklist, which is something we could conceivably, Lynn and team could conceivably use when working with the legacy project. So let me go and add a title. I'll say Legacy Server Checklist. And we can say identify make and models of servers in scope. And then we can say, pick recycling company to pick up legacy servers. And let's just round this out by determine complete scope of budgeting for recycling company. So this is something that's just built into Teams, and again, you can choose the access, people with existing access. So in this respect, this would just be sharing between Lynn and Michael. But you can, again, like people currently in this chat, you can also say people in your organization with the link, and they would be actually able to join in and make changes. So we're going to say just people currently in this chat and allow editing and click apply. Alright, so I'm going to, let me just leave some notes. I'm going to click send, and that is now going to send that into the chat. So on my trusty Microsoft Laptop Studio here, I'm logged in as me, Michael Reinders. And as you can see, it's not really easy to see, but you can see the chat session. So what I can do is I will again show you how this works in real time. So now that I'm clicking in that in that loop component as Michael. You can see right there where I am, right in the document. And I can actually just, I'll check this box and chat that I already chose the recycling company that was already done. So that, again, it's a dynamic, usually simple piece of information, but it's just something really rough. And instead of sending an email to someone, or instead of having a 15 or 30-minute meeting about this, it's just something that you can really just spit out and send to one person or send to a group of people. And it allows you to, again, in real time, as Lynn created that chat, created that loop component, that checklist, and then the other user was able to actually make those changes live. And again, if this happens to be a busy chat session that you're in, that you don't want to lose it, you can of course click on this item, click the ellipsis in the top here, and click pin, so that loop component is pinned in your chat. So as you would have more chat text, and as you would, I'll just make a bunch of characters to make this scroll off. You always have access to this item because it is pinned right up on top here. So as you're going past, and this could be a long history, a long chat, you can always just click right at the top of your chat session and get right back to that loop component. So as you can see, it's obviously a very, very cool feature, and again, really nice and easy to be efficient and collaborative with your teammates. Thank you very much for listening and viewing my session.